Phoenix, Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker Saturday. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank has caused a huge stir in the banking industry. Is your money safe? What are the long-term implications of those failures? We're going to answer some of those questions in the second half of the program. But first, the Phoenix City Council is in the midst of a political sea change. Two new councilmen recently elected. Kevin Robinson is a former Phoenix police officer, professor at ASU, and the new councilman for District 6, which encompasses North Central Phoenix, Arcadia, Biltmore area, and Ahwatukee. Good to see you, Kevin.
Thank you, John.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Why did you want to wade into this? A cop wanting to get into politics.
Yeah, my sanity has been placed in question. I will tell you that. The reality of it all is, you know, looking at everything, I knew I could make a difference. I sincerely believed that, and believed it over 18 months ago when I decided to get in the race, and I believe it now, and really starting to roll up my sleeves and looking forward to the inauguration on April 17th and starting my first set of formal council meetings and such on the 18th. So
what animated you to do it? I mean, was there a moment or an issue or something where you said, I got to jump in?
Well, the biggest issue, several folks came to me and asked me to consider it. And my initial response was, that's not me. That's not something I had ever thought of.
Really?
And, oh yeah, there were two things I wanted to do growing up. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to play second base for the Yankees. And that's the truth. And the opportunity to play professional baseball never presented itself. So I'm a realist. And I was fortunate enough to live my dream as a police officer for over 36 years with what I thought was the very best police department in the United States. I thought I made a difference in people's lives. I enjoyed the time there, and happy in retirement, teaching, just enjoying a really easy life. And some folks approached me and said, you know, we're looking at how things are going, what's going on with policing in the United States, what's happening here in the Valley. We're looking at city council. There were just a lot of things. They asked me to consider running for office. This is the furthest thing from my mind, furthest thing. After talking to those folks, I went home and I told my wife about it. And my expectation when I told her was that she would say, you don't want to do that, or that's crazy. And she thought for about 15 seconds, and she said, you should do it. And she said, the reason why, she says, you know this city. You've lived here since '74. You know how the city government works. You've worked within it for 36 years. She said, you know so many people. And she says, you're good to work with. And she said, you're easy to work with. You can get along with folks. So she made an argument for me to really change our lives all up and to get into politics.
Kate Gallego, the mayor, took a little bit of heat from Democrats over this because they thought she's trying to kind of soften the council. Some worried that, you know, you get a former cop on the council, then maybe you're not going to be as tough on police.
Well, those are folks who don't know me. You know, what I stand for and I've always stood for is, you know, solid professional policing with integrity. I've always been like that. And what you don't know, a lot of folks don't know, is I sit on the Arizona Police Officer Standards and Training Board, appointed by previous Governor Ducey. And Arizona Post, Police Officer Standards and Training Board, has oversight over every police officer, sheriff's deputy, corrections officer, every sworn officer in the state of Arizona. And we look at integrity issues. With regularity, I will move to and vote to take away someone's certification in a heartbeat. If they don't live up to the oath of their office, they don't deserve to wear the badge of their agency.
So you're going to carry that on to the council?
I will continue to carry that on to the council.
Okay, let's talk about a couple of things. You grew up in Maryvale in West Phoenix, graduated from Trevor Brown.
Yes.
So you do know the city, you've been around, you've been on the streets. What do you see as the issue in this city right now?
You know, the biggest issue is, you know, I think it's the lack of public safety. You know, both police and fire are down too many positions. And I say a lack of, it's a matter of the police officers being able to respond in a timely manner, the police officers being able to follow up on the calls, on the, you know, the crimes that occur in a timely manner. We need to get back to the numbers.
More of an issue for police than fire?
It is. Fire is able to make some adjustments. They're really good at it, and they have been doing that, but still, I think the number one responsibility of every elected official is public safety. We need to ensure every citizen in our areas of responsibility are safe and sound in all that they do, and that starts with public safety.
And you don't think that's happening in Phoenix right now? I mean,
No.
You're worried that it's not a safe city?
No, I'm not saying that. They're doing a great job. The Phoenix Police Department, the Phoenix Fire Department, both are doing a great job with the resources they have available to you. What I am saying, they will do an even better job when they have all of the resources that are available, when they have all of the technology that's out there that will allow them to do a much better job than what they do now.
Do you think you and Keisha Hodge Washington, who won, the departure of a couple of the council people, Sal DiCiccio, I'm spacing his name.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Carlos Garcia.
Carlos. These were kind of polarizing figures on the council. Do you think Kate Gallego was trying to kind of modify this council to get it to be a more cohesive council? And is that a good thing?
You know, I don't know that that was her intent. You know, she endorsed me early on, and she's one of the folks who talked to me about running. She knows me. She and I do not agree on every single thing. You know, I consider
you run as an independent, by the way.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with everything from a Democratic standpoint or anything from a Republican standpoint. I know I will chart my own course on things that I think are best for the residents of Phoenix, the residents in District 6, and based on all the information that I can glean from others and from whatever materials available, I'll make decisions based on that.
Civilian Police Review Board, you comfortable with it?
You know, I'm going to sit down with the director. I want to understand more completely. I know there's a state law that prohibits it from doing what they originally set it out to do. It is it's necessary in this day and age because it's critical for police departments to have the trust and the trust of the community. And there's a lot of folks in our community who are not trusting of law enforcement. And that could be because of something that happens in Detroit, in Baltimore, Manchester, New Hampshire, for that matter. It could be something that happens anywhere else. Minneapolis, most definitely. That has a tendency to paint law enforcement with a very broad brush.
Okay, so let's talk about a couple of issues that are out there right now. You've got water.
Right.
Water rates, we just found out this week, city's trying to raise them 40%. That's a lot.
It is and it isn't. I think when you sit down and really understand completely about what they're doing and how it's being done and how long it's been since we've had a water rate increase, then you start to see it's pretty much in proportion to what it should be.
It seems like they're always raising rates on water.
You know, but they're not? No, they haven't been. And I know folks have a tendency to think that, but that's not necessarily the case. These are things that probably should have been done, you know, a long time ago, but they weren't.
Can we move toward, in this city, and should we, and are we, moving toward a model more like San Diego, where you start to try to recycle every drop you've got? San Diego's done really, really well at that.
There are great practices all over the country, quite honestly. And there is nothing wrong with stealing a great idea from somebody else. Sure. There really isn't. I think one of the things we should be doing is looking at what everyone does. We need to move towards zero scape in some cases. You know, we have a lot of grass here in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I drive up and down streets in a lot of professional and business offices and things like that. There's grass out front. What's the purpose of it? You know, it's aesthetic. I mean, we like to look at it. I think there just needs to be a reevaluation of a lot of those types of things so we can figure out, you know, what ways can we and should we be conserving water.
Driving around the city, there's a ton of bike lanes out there. It's taken away lanes for cars. This is a conscious move toward kind of a city where people are either on transit or they're using stuff that's clean, they're not in their cars. Is that a good way to move people around? Do you look at some of those bike lanes and say, do we need all this?
I don't look, I haven't had that thought. I know a lot of people who bike. I know a lot of people who enjoy it recreationally. I know a lot of people who ride their bikes to work. I think it's necessary to provide for their safety. So I'm not, you know, I want to understand it more completely. I don't have all the information as to what areas we're going to be putting bike lanes in or where they've been recently placed. But I look at
when you
those
still
as
have to move commerce and you still got to move people around.
You do. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You can still do these things. I think what it's going to take is very thoughtful, careful planning, bringing people to the table, bringing all the stakeholders to the table so they can talk about what should we be doing and how can we get there.
The biggest one maybe right now is homelessness. I mean, the zone is now 1,000 people plus. That just, I mean, look at those pictures. That is hard to believe that is happening, number one, in America. Number two, in Phoenix. I mean, we've had this issue, but not like this. Dude, first of all, what do you think's driving it?
Well, there's several factors. You know, people talk about home affordability, they're talking about mental illness, they're talking about drug abuse, and it is all of those things.
You police these streets. I mean, what do you think is the driver?
I used to police that area as a fairly new sergeant on the walking beat when we had the homeless shelter. I think it's all of those factors. We have a significant drug problem here. We have mental illness. We have home affordability. And these are all factors that can be addressed. And all the experts are telling me, because I've spent a great deal of time in those areas during the last 18 months of this campaign, and what the topic experts are telling me is when we can come together, we can fashion solutions to some of these problems. Now, you may not eliminate it completely, because there are going to be those who want to be there.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do a whole lot with them. But those who are there because of a series of happenstance, those are folks that we need to be looking out for, trying to help, trying to move them to the next level so that they can become much more
They got to get
sufficient.
services, though. I mean, you cannot just put a roof over their head and expect their problems to go away.
No, it's not going to be that. You have to be able to offer services that are available. You have to help people step by step, little by little. And I think that's when we're going to be successful.
Let's talk about policing in the last, I mean, we talk so much in the wake of George Floyd, and you were very critical of what happened in Minneapolis. You weren't trying to protect the cops in any way. Your position is bad policing is bad for policing.
Exactly. Every good cop, they will tell you this, every single good cop, and that's 99.9% of them. I just firmly believe that. They will tell you the one thing that they hate more than anything is a bad cop. So that one bad cop is going to make things bad for everybody. We're going to remember those things. George Floyd, I remember telling my students at ASU, what we were witnessing was a murder.
Period.
We witnessed a murder. That police officer was wrong in every way, shape, and form. He was arrested, he was tried, he was convicted, he's in prison, and that's where he belongs. Now, we're never going to hear about all the great things that police officers do. Today, for instance, I'm sure here in the Valley, police officers and agencies across the Valley made thousands and thousands of contacts today. We're not going to hear about those things. They're out there doing their jobs. They're doing what they were trained to do. They're professionals. They do that job because they want to help people. They want to make a difference. That happens all the time.
Finally, is Phoenix still one of the best-run cities in America? We used to get that moniker, and now a lot of people doubt that.
Well, I will find out more. I like what City Manager Jeff Barton and his team have done. I like the approach. I've had an opportunity to talk to the city manager, and he wants us to be that destination for people to want to come and work. Because I remember when the fire department would have a test, and there would be 2,000 to 3,000 people lined up to take their test. Police department would have several hundred people lined up to take the test, and people clamored to get jobs with the city of Phoenix. That's what we're going to work back to. City manager, he is adamant about that, and I firmly believe he will be successful, and I'm looking forward to being a part of attracting people to the city of Phoenix.
It's great to see you, Kevin.
Good seeing you,
Good
John.
luck in your new endeavor, and appreciate the relationship.
No, thank you very much.
We're back in a minute on Newsmaker Saturday, the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and the tentacles that's created. We're going to talk it over with an ASU professor, try to make sense of it. Is your money safe? Was the government right to bail them out? If that's what it was, we're back in a minute. Welcome back to Newsmaker Saturday. When Silicon Valley Bank collapsed 2 weeks ago, it sent shockwaves through the banking and financial sectors. Some have called it the Lehman moment for technology. That's a reference to the collapse of the Lehman Brothers that triggered the financial crisis of 2008. To shed some light on what these recent events mean, Dr. Dennis Hoffman joins us, director of the Seidman Research Institute at the ASU School of Business. He's a professor of economics. Good to see you, Dennis.
John, great to be with you today.
How big of a deal is this?
Well, it's a big deal. And the interesting thing, and the way my mind kind of went through thinking through it, is I thought about it just being a regional issue when I first thought about it. But the way it has panned out. The size of the depositor group that had money on deposit in the bank, especially Silicon Valley, really has created some shockwaves across the entire banking industry, and that is why the Treasury and the Federal Reserve took such dramatic action. So this isn't just about the tech industry, and it's not just about Silicon Valley.
Okay, so the government stepped in to protect all of these depositors. The question is, I mean, this is easily because there's big tech involved and healthcare involved companies. This far exceeds the $250,000 that FDIC insures. Is this a bailout?
I don't label it a, you guys are going to use whatever term you want to use, I guess. They certainly don't think about it as bailing out the owners or the investors or the stockholders in these banks. Those guys are out of business. And it's actually fear among other bank owners and stockholders that is going to be the bigger impact to this particular phenomena. First of all, just basic banking in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Banks exist as intermediaries. They take in our deposits and they make loans. And folks puzzle over that. They see the big vault in the bank when they walk in, and they say, wow, my money's really secure, and see it's there and everything is fine. Well, I don't know where it is. One place I know it's not, most of it is not in that vault on any given day. It's loaned out. And banks are doing that legally. That's how banks work. That's how intermediaries work. They survive on the confidence that you have as a depositor that on any given day, you individually can go and withdraw your cash.
Okay, so what shook the confidence of these particular borrowers? I think I know, because it's tied into Silicon Valley and the troubles that Silicon Valley is having, that everybody started to want their money out. What happened?
Panic.
Panic.
So panic is an interesting economic phenomenon, and panic is a bank owner's and a bank manager's worst nightmare, John. So you run your business, you try to make prudent loans, you try to have a sound capital position, you have a lot of liquid assets in the form of, say, Treasury securities that you can sell in an instant if you need to. But no bank, even big ones, could withstand a massive withdrawal on the order that that Silicon Valley saw. Now, what triggered it? There was some concerns on the part of some real big depositors, and that's kind of an anomaly with Silicon Valley. It really had a ton of deposits tied up in a relatively small number of millionaire depositors. Maybe the Hooks had their money there. The Hoffmans did not. But
I wish.
We have an unusual situation with a bank being exposed to withdrawals from really large depositors. And there's all debate, and we're going to debate this for the next 3 months as the Fed digs into this. What could Silicon Valley have done with their asset portfolio to protect against this massive withdrawal? Once it starts, it's kind of like over.
Yeah, everybody starts getting the fever. So my understanding is, Dennis,
the worst day in his career is when a bank manager goes to open his bank one day and there's a line outside his door. That's not going to be a good day.
I mean, I'm laughing, but some of this is rather, I don't want to say it's comical, but it's, I don't know what it speaks to. 90% of those loans, I guess, that were out, customers, were basically uninsured. They exceeded, their assets exceeded.
They're whales. They're just big guys and gals.
Yeah, you've got huge money.
And so why did the Fed step in to kind of try to calm the water.
Yes.
They tried to head off deposit withdrawals everywhere, not just in the West Coast, not just in tech, but in all, say, community banks, all small and mid-sized banks. And they're everywhere, John. They serve a role. They're many of them are boutique, but they serve a role because they know the economies of the locale and of the region, and they keep those loans. They keep local deposits close, and they turn those local deposits into local investments. That's not a bad thing.
No. But Silicon Valley Bank, by the way,
depends upon trust, and the financial institution, like Silicon Valley and like all the community banks, they will do their best to maintain that trust. And the way to do that is to keep their asset portfolio as liquid and as sound as possible.
Okay,
now,
Dennis.
Silicon Valley got crosswise. I'm sorry, Silicon Valley got crosswise to that, and that probably triggered this withdrawal.
Okay, so quick question. We talk about Silicon Valley and we refer to it almost as a local bank because it's, you know, there's so much Silicon Valley tentacles from that bank into Silicon Valley and into healthcare. Tech and healthcare were their primary drivers. But it's not a small bank. It's one of the top 20 banks in the country in terms of assets. It's a big player, right?
It's a big deal, but this whole issue now has become a big deal, John. And here's why. The fear on the part of bank owners, shareholders, managers, risk assessors for banks, there's fear out there. And the fear is that the wolf of deposit withdrawal will show up at my door. And the way that I protect myself from that is I have far more liquid assets. And so what's the alternative? Loans. So am I going to make more loans going forward, or am I going to make fewer loans going forward, especially in the immediate future? And I'm going to hold on to those liquid assets.
Yeah. Hey, we've only got
a credit crunch, John, that's going to manifest itself across the country, not just on the West Coast.
Okay, that's my next question, and we've only got about a minute left. Do you think that there are some banks at risk here in Arizona?
I don't know. I really don't know. I would caution depositors, and I would caution even, frankly, even the question, John, and I'm not trying to hide or provide cover for anybody, but it's fear of failure on the part of a handful of banks that's going to generate deposit withdrawal. I think depositors, if they're nervous, they need to see what's happened to the depositors of Silicon Valley. They've been made whole. And there is every reason to believe that if your bank gets in trouble, even if it's a small community bank, you will be made whole, even if you're over the 250.
Well, that's the thing. The government has laid down a marker now that it's going to step in and bail people out. Does this lead to more risky business?
Well, they've got to do it in such a way that they only insure and they only provide this extended insurance to reliable financial institutions, not fly-by-night institutions that only show up on the internet bragging about great CD rates or something, but there's no brick and mortar, there's no there. But in the interim, John, don't lose track of the point. This will bring on the onset of the downturn, of the recession, at a faster pace than we would have thought before Silicon Valley Bank
oh, wow.
went down.
Well,
this is a credit crunch. You started the show with Lehman. There's Lehman elements to this. There is a credit crunch scenario out there that is going to result in slower growth in the economy sooner than what we would have thought prior to this collapse.
Okay, one quick thing. It's got to be a quick answer. Do you think we're heading for a deep recession?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
I hope I'm right.
Dr. Dennis Hoffman.
I didn't think we were headed for a deep one in the summer of 2008 either. So there you go. There's my track
caveat. Dennis Hoffman, director of the Seidman Research Institute, ASU Business School. Great to see you, Dennis. Thank you.
Be well, John.
Yeah, you too. We're back in a minute on Newsmaker Saturday.